Not all lava lamp caps are created equally, and if you're replacing yours and encounter these crimp caps, you may be in for a bit of a challenge. So today I'll be showing you how to remove and replace the crimp caps on your Grande lamps specifically. Ultimately, you just need something to pry it open, but we'll go through the optional tools as well. Starting out with a utility knife, this can be good for getting the party started and just crimping up that first piece. A good flathead screwdriver will be your best friend here. However, if yours are too thick, I've recently been using these metal spatulas, and these are actually super handy and get under there really well. Finally, if you misshape your cap while you're removing it, a small jewelry hammer like this one can be really helpful to reshape it. I'm sure you could use other tools to get similar results. If you're impatient like me, it may be really tempting to just go in there with some pliers, but these can easily tear it, so I wouldn't recommend using these on the cap. You can either do this process while it's on the base still, just make sure that you give a really good grip on it so that it doesn't tip over, or if you find it more comfortable, you can just take the globe off and work from here. Instead of trying to forcefully pry it up all at once, you're slowly going to go around a couple times, ever so slightly lifting up the edges. The glass on these globes are pretty strong, but also be mindful not to apply too much pressure to it and cause damage. Once it was lifted about 75% of the way around, I probably could have pulled it off at this point, but I finished uncrimping all the sides so that it was going to be easier to put back on later. Do use some caution as you actually go to lift up the lamp, as the edges are pretty sharp. And then depending on the age of your lamp, it may or may not have one of these rubber stoppers on the inside. The older they are, they can become more prone to cracking, but if you do end up damaging yours, you can also get replacements from our friends over at Lava Lab Creations. At this point, you can replace the wax or the liquid inside of the lamp to your liking, but for me, I'm just going to leave it for now. We're going to figure out how we want to style this. My cap retained its shape pretty well, but if yours is looking wonky at removing, this is when you can go in with your jewelry hammer and really smooth things back out. If you're using the existing rubber stopper, they typically pop back in pretty easily. However, if you're using the replacement cap, it can be difficult to push back down. You're actually going to take something like a zip tie or a wire and stick it down the side of the lamp to allow some air to escape. This will make pushing the cap down easier, and then when you're done, you just pull that zip tie right out. Also, make sure that you do this when the lamp is off, otherwise the heat could suck the cap inside. Fortunately, I don't have a third arm to show you both these motions at once, but you're going to simultaneously want to press down on the cap while also folding the edges back in with your screwdriver or jewelry hammer. You can also use a hose clamp. I just don't have a large enough one for this specific lamp, but I have a full video on how to do this method if you're curious. Finally, you could stop here, but the seal is rarely as good as it is from the factory. To help with this, you'll want to use some heat shrink, which you can get pre-cut from Lava Lab Creations. Hold on to the heat shrink from the back so that it doesn't blow off, being careful not to burn your fingers, and use a heat gun to tightly seal it onto the top of your lamp. Once you have a good seal, you're ready to put your cap back on, and now it's time to run your Grande lava lamp.